Yes, we are. Good evening, Corona Daze Professional Development Group. I'm Danette Edwards, the founder of Corona Daze Professional Development Group. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We are here with Chris Mouzon, who is here for his encore performance. He rocked it last week, talking about our money and why we struggle with money mindset. This evening, he's going to talk to us about Entrepreneurship 101. So you think you want to be an entrepreneur. So tonight we're going to discover how to transition from our 9-to-5 jobs to a business owners. We're going to learn the keys to starting and running a successful business. And Chris is going to discuss the common misconceptions and pitfalls along the journey of entrepreneurship. And we're going to learn how to best prepare for them. A little about Chris. Chris hosts the Entrepreneurial Development Podcast and Property Players Podcast. He is the co-host of the Perspective Podcast. You got a lot going on with these podcasts, Chris. He is a financial coach, a financial planner, a financial therapist, and the founder of the United Agency. Partnering with his wife, United Agency was built with the mission based in focusing on people over profit. They teach people how to build wealth. United Agency provides free education on financial concepts to help people understand their relationship with money and make better money decisions in their day-to-day lives. Chris is married and in business with his wife and has a young daughter. His life priorities, faith, family, and business. So guys, you know me, I am going to turn this over to Chris right now. We're going to have dedicated Q&A, Chris?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, guys, dedicated Q&A. I'm going to turn off my video and stop my speaker and let Chris go on.
Good to go. Thank you, Danette. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Excited to be back with you another Wednesday. Just was here last Wednesday with you, just like Danette said, talking about money. Hopefully, those of you that didn't get a chance to listen to it, you go on the YouTube or jump into the Facebook group and go back into the replay of it. It was awesome. Dropped a ton of nuggets for you guys, gave you a bunch of information that you can, practical information that you can use to get to the next level in your financial life. So thank you for everyone that sent questions or tuned in last week. Now we're here this week, this Wednesday. I'm excited to be back because we get a chance to talk entrepreneurship. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about outside of money. Entrepreneurship is one of my favorite things to talk about because, again, similar to money, and those of you that were listening last week, you'll hear that there's going to be some common themes in what we talked about last week and what we're talking about this week. But one of my favorite topics to talk about being entrepreneurship is because no one teaches us this stuff, right? Just like I said last week to you guys about money, who really teaches us about money, right? You get it from your parents, maybe your peers, maybe a coworker, maybe the internet, but no one's really kind of walking you down that path of how to be financially independent and financially free. Same exact thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. No one is really walking you down the path of how to become an entrepreneur, right? I'll give you some background on me, but also as we go through the presentation, I'll talk to you a little bit more about kind of how I got my mindset in the business world, in the entrepreneurial world. But most importantly, I want to be able to give you guys the value that you need to know from wherever you are right now, whether you are just sitting at a job, unfulfilled, not liking life, not making enough money, right? The job's not paying you what you're worth and you're looking to transition out, whether you're already in the process of starting a side business while you're doing that dual income type of thing. You have a job, but you have the small business on the side. You're trying to figure out how to get all the way to full-time entrepreneurship. Or maybe you just really want to be an entrepreneur. It's just the thing that you've always wanted to do and you haven't had the luck or the ability to get anything off the ground. Well, hopefully you learned some stuff today about what it actually takes to be a successful entrepreneur. I didn't always know these things, guys. Again, my background, I went to culinary school, so I have an associate's in culinary arts and a bachelor's in food service management. I worked in the restaurant world for probably about 10 years, a little bit, right around 10 years. My last job, my last position, I was the assistant general manager for the Cheesecake Factory. Okay, so I was an AGM, climbed the ranks, right? Climbed the corporate ladder, played that game. And then I realized that it just wasn't going to fulfill me in my life. It wasn't, that industry wasn't going to get me and my family to where we needed to be. And I pivoted. I made a decision to say, you know what, I don't think having a job is for me. I think I need to be on this side, creating my own destiny. And through this journey, it's been about 8 years now that I've been fully in the world of entrepreneurship. Um, it's been a learning lesson, right? It's been a big learning lesson. And so that's why I can come today and impart some of that knowledge for you guys. So let me share my screen really quick. We're going to jump in. I'm going to share this with you. I called it Entrepreneurship 101, but honestly, there's so many layers to entrepreneurship. This may be the 101 for some people. This may be a 201 for some people. I'm not really sure, but at the end of the day, there's some basic things that we are going to need to understand when it comes to branching off and becoming an entrepreneur. By the way, I will preface this entire talk by saying, if you have a job, it's okay, right? You may hear me come off and talk about this entrepreneur mindset and the life of being an entrepreneur, and it may seem like I'm demeaning having a job or putting it down. By no means am I doing that, right? For some of you, you're meant to have a job, but other people, they're not meant to have a job. This is not what's better, what's worse. This is what's right for you. All I know is growing up in school, they never gave us the ability to be an entrepreneur. Everything was, you're going to go get a job, right? You're going to go to college and you're going to go get a job. Eventually, maybe you might start your own thing, but that was never really how we were taught in school. So then we step out and it becomes difficult. But let's jump right in and talk about what I believe about entrepreneurship. One, I believe anybody can become an entrepreneur. I honestly believe that. It doesn't matter who you are, what side of the tracks you grew up on, whether you came from a single parent home or an alcoholic family, or whether you came from a great family or whatever. Anyone can become an entrepreneur. I believe that. I also believe that there's never been an easier time to become an entrepreneur because of the advent of the internet. Because we have the internet now, it has never been an easier time to become an entrepreneur. Something that if you live with gratitude and you think about, some of the positive things of life, this is an opportunity our parents and grandparents did not have. They did not have the opportunity to build a business the way that we can, basically globally, from your phone or your computer. They didn't have those opportunities. And some of us squander those opportunities today because we're not thinking about how blessed we are to have them. So it's never been an easier time to be an entrepreneur. And lastly, to become a successful entrepreneur, you must learn how to become one. To become a successful entrepreneur, anyone can become an entrepreneur. To become a successful one, you got to learn the skill of being an entrepreneur, the craft of being an entrepreneur. You've got to learn it. And I just kind of mentioned this, but it's the case. Since we've only been taught to go to school, get good grades, get a higher education degree, get a safe, secure job, high-paying job, right? That's what we're taught. Go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job with benefits, make sure it has benefits, and then retire. Since that's been our model, since as a child, most of us have heard this message, when that plan doesn't work out for us, we're lost. When that go to school, get good grades, get higher education degree so that you can get a safe, secure, high-paying job with benefits and then retire, when that plan doesn't work out that they've set for us, we're lost. We have no idea what to do. That's when we start having thoughts of, maybe I should start my own business. Maybe I should do something like that. Maybe I should branch out. But guess what? We don't have the tools. We don't have the ability. We don't have the skills set in order to be able to go do that because we've been trained in school how to go get a job. So that's why entrepreneurship is foreign to a lot of people. You might have a great idea, but it's tough to execute on it. So the question is, who's teaching you to become an entrepreneur? For those of you that want to be one, who's teaching you how to become one? Let's first start by talking about what entrepreneurship is not. Okay? Social media has some goods and some pros and some cons. Some of the good stuff is you have access to everyone at your fingertips, information, anybody you want to get in touch with. Like, that's the beautiful side of social. The other side of social is this comparison that happens in life. When you get a chance to see your neighbors doing something or going on that vacation, the old keeping up with the Joneses. That's the downside of what social media has done for our society, because the things that are being posted may not be reality. They may just be a nice post. Or I heard someone say one time, social media is just the PR'd version of our life. Excuse me, just the PR'd version of our life, right? That's all it is. It's we pick and choose the area that we feel we should highlight because it's one day, one moment of success, and we post that, and we do those things over and over again so people have the image that that's what our life is like. I saw this happen in entrepreneurship back about 5 years ago. I started, I did a YouTube show called So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur. I filmed some local small business owners, and we talked about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. Because what I saw on social media, what I saw in the media, on TV, is entrepreneurship was being glamorized, right? Like, everything was amazing. Everything was about making a bunch of money, getting yachts, right? Living on the beach and being able to work from anywhere, and your life is just so perfect. And right, the lady down there taking selfies with ice cream, and just life is just amazing. That's what it started to seem like when people were talking about entrepreneurship. But I was living a completely different experience. I was living a completely different experience. That wasn't life for me. That it wasn't anywhere close to what life was. So I always want people to understand that what you see is may not be what you're getting. This is not entrepreneurship. This is not the essence of entrepreneurship. I use this quote. It says, "Don't let social media fool you. Entrepreneurship isn't as glamorous as it seems. You will be broke, depressed, and ready to quit at times. But don't." Keyword, at times. Sometimes that's what happens when it's all on you. When you are the entrepreneur, when you've taken the risk, when you've started the business, it's not going to be glamorous all the time. It's not going to be money all the time right away. You're not going to feel great every single day about doing what you're doing. But you can't give up if you had a vision, if you had a dream, if there's a reason you started it, you can't give up. Let's talk about what entrepreneurship is. Just some pictures that kind of correlate to what you might think entrepreneurship is, or maybe you don't know. So let me explain. The guy in the upper right, that guy that has his head down on the desk, it seems probably like late night. That's what it is. A lot of late nights. When you transition from a job to working for yourself, you're probably going to work more hours. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if many people know that, but it's true. You're going to probably work more hours working for yourself than you did the 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week you worked for the job. But that's only right. You should work more for yourself and your dreams and your legacy and you than you do for that company, right? So either way, lots of long nights. You could have photographed me in that position probably for many different nights, just falling asleep at my desk, just a ton of work, just constantly thinking, just falling asleep watching something, right? The other side, that entrepreneur life, that dog carrying his own leash, the dog carrying his own leash. That's entrepreneurship. They often say that it's kind of lonely. It's just true. You got to carry your own leash. You got to go get to where you got to get to. You might not have anybody that can guide you and walk you down that path. So you might have to do it yourself, but you have to be willing to. And then I posted this on LinkedIn a while back, and it got some nice feedback from it, but it's just truth. A day in the life of an entrepreneur. A day, right? Not like this is your emotions over a long period of time. In a day. These are just things that happen. You could be super excited, and then literally the next hour, you're like, oh, this is so hard. And then the client gives you a call and you make some money. You're like, oh, it's working. But then you drop right down and you're like, I messed this up. And you're back on another high. Then you're back on another low. This emotional roller coaster. What I call it, entrepreneurial bipolarism. If that's a word, I might have put it all together and just made it up, but I say it a bunch. Entrepreneurial bipolarism is a real thing. It's a real thing. One day, you could literally be on top of the world thinking that you're about to be a millionaire because you have the greatest idea and you've been executing on it and it's wonderful and life is great. Literally the next day, you can be in the deepest depression in a dark place where you think life is over. Literally, it can happen in a day. It can happen throughout the day. Your ability to manage some of these things is what's going to make you successful as an entrepreneur. Mental toughness. But understand, that's more realistic of what entrepreneurship really is. But the number one thing entrepreneurship is, it's rewarding. The number one reason you do this, it's rewarding. The things that you can get, the things that we're going after, the reason why we start a business or to do anything along this line is for freedom. It's for freedom. If I want to be free, if I want to be free from society, from people, from restraints, I cannot have a job, right? If someone cuts my check, if someone has to pay me, if I'm getting paid for my time, I'm not free. If someone tells you where you can live, where you can't live, when you can go on vacation, when you can't go on vacation, when you can take a lunch, when you can't take a lunch, if someone is telling you those things, it's the opposite of freedom. So being an entrepreneur gets you to freedom. You have a better quality of life. Can you imagine having life exactly where you want it? Exactly where you want it. Everything in its place, everything exactly how your life is, right? Exactly how you want it, exactly where it's at. It's quality of life. It's quality of life. It's something that comes with entrepreneurship, is a great quality of life over time, right? Great relationships, great relationships, great relationships with your family, with your friends, with your children, with your spouse, with your business partners, with the people you meet, great relationships. Financial independence is what comes with being an entrepreneur for some, for those that continue to work after it, right? Financial independence. What about contributing to society? How much do you contribute to society at your job? Let's also talk about the other rewarding parts of it, like leaving a legacy, like passing something down. You can't pass down your job to your children. They're going to have to fend for themselves. You can't pass it down. But are you leaving a legacy behind? What about happiness and fulfillment? That is the reason why we should be doing anything in life, is to get to a place of happiness and fulfillment. Entrepreneurship leads to that. It leads to happiness and fulfillment. By the way, there's there's 6 basic human needs. Tony Robbins talks about this stuff. There's 6 basic human needs that we have as a human being. 2 of them are like spiritual needs that we have to have a fulfilled life. Not to just be happy or not to just make money, but to have a fulfilled life. There's 2 things that we have to have, at least one of the 2. We have to have growth and we have to have contribution. That means we have to be growing, because if we're not growing, we're dying. Progress equals happiness, right? So if you're not growing, it's hard to live a fulfilled life if you constantly feel like you're moving backwards. And secondly, are you contributing? Do you feel like you are making an impact in something? Most people, that's in their family, right? As a parent, that's normally to their children. But you have to have a way to contribute in order to have a fulfilled life. So happiness and fulfillment is a rewarding part of entrepreneurship. And here's the big one: it's becoming a better you, becoming the best version of yourself. These are the rewarding parts of why you would be an entrepreneur, of what happens when you stick on the course of being an entrepreneur. Good old Bob Marley there says, better to die fighting for freedom than to be a prisoner all of the days of your life. Better die fighting for freedom than to be a prisoner all the days of your life, guys. This is important. This is why we do this. But you got to enjoy the journey as you're going through it. Like I said, this is about you becoming the best version of you. That your journey in entrepreneurship is the catalyst to helping you learn you. The more you throw yourself into entrepreneurship, the more you push yourself off that cliff, the more that you go, the more self-aware you become. The more you start to learn about you. There's a saying I always tell people, that pressure either busts pipes or makes diamonds. Pressure either busts pipes or makes diamonds. You won't know which one you are until you put that pressure on yourself. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, a job will never put that pressure on you to find out exactly who you are. It will never put you under that circumstance. I, being an AGM for the Cheesecake Factory, did not get to a place where I felt immense pressure to figure out who I was, what I stood for, what my values were, what my strengths were, what my weaknesses are, why I have certain tics. You know, I couldn't figure that out when I was getting paid a salary. But as soon as that salary went away, which is the scariest part for most people, as soon as that salary goes away and there's no more safety net, there's nothing else, you figure out who you are. You figure out who you are very quickly. And then the job is to grow and become better, the best version of yourself. Reason why people mostly fail at entrepreneurship will force you to look at and evaluate the best and worst parts of you on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is who I am. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. There's my strengths, weaknesses, faults, all that stuff. You have to look at it every single day when you want to be an entrepreneur. You have to enjoy this journey of growth and learning. Carrie Jones on the screen says, the secret to happiness is freedom. The secret to freedom is courage. Ergo, the secret to happiness is courage. The secret to gaining your happiness is to have courage to go after your freedoms, to go after happiness. That's the secret. It's courage. That's what comes from inside. That's what it means by looking at yourself every day and becoming more self-aware. So here's some reasons maybe that you might have wanted to be an entrepreneur, or some of the reasons that you might be thinking about being an entrepreneur. One, you want the opportunity to be wealthy. That's important to you. There's not many wealthy employees. Let's just be clear, right? There's not many outside of the top 10 executives at the top 100 firms, right? Outside of them, which are also employees, you're not going to find many wealthy employees. So if you want the opportunity, even the opportunity to be wealthy, you're probably going to want to think about being an entrepreneur. If you enjoy working hard, I'll tell you guys one of the reasons why I chose to leave the Cheesecake Factory, and I keep throwing their name out. They're a great company. It just wasn't for me, right? Just after a while, that wasn't my path. But what I noticed was that I was the hardest working manager in the building most days, if not all days. I was normally the hardest working manager in the building. In the restaurants, I was the go-to manager, which means I could take care of staff and I could take care of guests. Guests love me and staff love me. Guests respected me and the staff respected me. I made the schedules, I did the inventory, and you guys know Cheesecake, right? It's a $12 million, I was running a $12 million a year store. I worked hard. I always had, the ability to work hard. What I didn't like was that I worked hard and the manager next to me didn't work as hard as me and made more money than me. That burned me up. That would burn me up, right? To know that I was busting my butt 70 hours a week, extra hours. And when you're salaried, you don't get paid for that. You don't get paid for any of that stuff. You just do it because you love your job, right? You like what you do. You want to make an impact at what you do. You want to feel important. You want to contribute. That's why you work really hard at your job. Knowing that you are not getting paid what you're worth. Knowing that at the end of the day, there's this other manager over here that's lazier than I am, that works 30 hours less than I do and makes 10 grand more a year than I do, just because they've been in the company a little bit longer. I don't want that. I don't want that. But if you enjoy working hard, you would be fit to be an entrepreneur. I'll give you another quick thing. I always tell people that my family, because I'm a hard worker, and this will be the same thing for anyone listening that's a hard worker. If you're a hard worker, your family will benefit more from you getting paid for your efforts than you just getting paid for your time. Say that again. If you are a hard worker, your family will benefit more by you getting paid for your effort rather than just being paid for your time. So if you enjoy working hard, you should think about being an entrepreneur. Here's another reason, because you have an actual vision for your life. You know where you want to go. You know what's up ahead. You know what you want to see happen of your life. You know what you want of your kids' life. You know what type of income you want to make. You know what type of savings and retirement you want to have. You know what type of house you want to live, or where you want to live, or the types of experiences you want to have. You have a vision for your life already. If you already have a vision for your life, it's going to make sense that you go craft that vision. You go design your life. Otherwise, you'll be working for someone that's designing their life, and you're just helping them do that for them. But if you have a vision for your life, you got to make sure that you're thinking about being an entrepreneur. If you don't like working for people, this is a big one. And sometimes people jump the gun on this, like, oh, I just hate my job. I hate working for people. I need to go be an entrepreneur. Yeah, yes and no. There's some of us that literally we would struggle. Like, I'm at a place I would struggle working for another person at this stage. I would struggle, right? If you already have that, if you already know that, you don't respect your boss because you can do the job better. If every job you've gone to, the superior, the person that's above you, you never get along with, like, there's just always it's probably because you're not cut out to necessarily work for people. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a job, but not everyone should have a job. That's not the case. I'm speaking to you as an entrepreneur, right? Not as an employee. I'm speaking to you as an entrepreneur. Not everyone should have a job. Some people don't work well for other people. Also, if you just enjoy helping and contributing, if you just genuinely, that's like your nature, you just genuinely help people in your family and you like it and you contribute. These are reasons why you should be an entrepreneur. Here's some reasons why you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. If you think it's easier than just having a job, if you think like, man, having this job is really tough, they tell me what to do and I show up and all these things, and you think being an entrepreneur, running a business, being your own boss is easier, it's not the reason to be an entrepreneur. Or if you just want to quit your job, you just hate your job so much, you're like, I'm just going to quit this thing so I can go be an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's not going to work out that way. It's not the reason to start becoming an entrepreneur just because you think it's easier. Like I said before, if you enjoy working hard, right? You enjoy working hard, you should be an entrepreneur. So on the other side, if you think you could just be lazy and succeed, if you think you could just lay on the beach, if you got something in your head that you can just, travel and sit on your laptop all day, like, of course there's a few people, but that's like the 0.0, right, 1% of people that actually get to live that type of life. So if you just think you can be lazy and be an entrepreneur, it's not going to be the route for you. Here's a big one. If you want to get rich quick, right? If you just think, oh, I'm just trying to go get rich and somebody told me about this thing and it turns me into an entrepreneur, it's not a business, and then I can go get rich. Probably not the reason to start, right? Probably not the reason to get started, because there's no such thing as getting rich quick. Every overnight person that you think came into money has probably been working at it for a long time. You just didn't know who they were. That's all. And lastly, you just think it's cool to call yourself a business owner. We're going through this phase in our world, right, where it's just cool to be like, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I'm an owner, I can put it on my Instagram, or right, throw it on my Facebook. People respect me because I say I'm a CEO of something. If you just think it's cool to be called a business owner, it's no reason to jump into entrepreneurship. It's just not the reasons. So you have to understand, what are your reasons? If you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, what are your reasons for it? These are just some of the reasons why, and some of the reasons maybe why you shouldn't or be thinking about it that way. So here's some traits of successful entrepreneurs, right? You got to know what some of the traits are to see if maybe you fit. Do you fit in any of these areas of being a successful entrepreneur? Do you have leadership ability? Leadership ability. Some of your most successful entrepreneurs are the greatest leaders. They have the abilities that leaders possess. You got to make sure, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you want to get to a place that you've built something big, it means you've had to have people help you with that process. You've had to have people help you build it. There's no, you can do this all by yourself and I don't need anyone. Like, you'll need an assistant, you'll need clients, customers, you'll need as you grow and scale, you'll need more employees or workers. Like, you need people. So because of that, you have to be a good leader. You have to learn how to be a good leader. I've seen this on a bunch of like job postings and things, right? Like, people don't quit jobs, they quit managers, right? They quit bosses. People just quit people because the leadership is poor. So if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you should probably learn some leadership ability, some things in leadership. Time management skills is another big one. Time management. I think on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about the difference between then the employee mindset and the entrepreneur mindset. But in general, when our time has been managed for our entire life, AKA we've been in school and an employee, when we branch out and you have all of your time to yourself, you don't know what to do with it. It's a completely different world. When you know you had to wake up, be at work at a certain time, you know what time the alarm goes off, you know what time you got to hit the road, otherwise you'll be late, you know the traffic pattern to get to the office, you know what time you're supposed to do what, when you can go to lunch, when you can schedule. When someone has managed your time for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, and then you say, I think I want to be an entrepreneur, the number one thing you're going to have to learn is how to manage your own time. This stuff might sound simple, but I've been doing this for a long time and I've been helping people do this. This is the number one area that people struggle. When they try to transition from their job to an entrepreneur, they forget how to, they don't know how to manage their time. So you got to have some time management skills. Public speaking skills. It's important. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you've got to learn how to communicate, to be an effective communicator, to get your message out, to be able to sell a product, to be able to inspire other people, to get an investor, to be able to communicate, which means you need good public speaking skills. You need to be able to articulate what it is that you have going on and get people inspired to want to ask you more questions or to dive deeper at your business or your product, whatever that is. EQ, something that we all need to learn more of, but it's that empathy, it's that emotional quotient, right? Like, how do we figure things out? Like, this kind of ties into the leadership ability. Great leaders have high EQ. That means not just like from an intelligence standpoint, from an IQ standpoint, but from an emotional quotient standpoint, from like, I feel what other people are feeling. I can have empathy for another person. I'm a good listener. I have, skills that are helping me with people. And I can connect with them through our emotions, through understanding where people sit. So successful entrepreneurs have high levels of EQ. They're visionaries. Take all of your biggest, most successful entrepreneurs, your Steve Jobs, your Elon Musks, your Jeff Bezos, your Mark Zuckerbergs, your Richard Bransons, all these guys that are just, right, billionaires, they've all created something where they saw around a corner. They all created something because they had a vision that no one else saw. No one else saw this vision. They saw the vision and said, I want to go do this. I think we can make this happen. They built something out of nothing, and now people know who they are because of their vision. I just talked to you guys last week about money, and one of the quotes that we put is scripture, right? That says, where there's no vision, most people know it as people perish, right? Where there's no vision, the people perish. What I told you guys last week is that where there's no vision, people cast off restraint. They cast off restraint. That means, right, they have no idea, right? Like they can't manage those things. A visionary, once you have a vision, it allows people to care about where you're going. It allows people to get locked in on what it is that the end goal is. Having a vision is so important. Successful entrepreneurs are risk takers, calculated risks, obviously, but risk takers. If you're adverse to risk, probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. If you can't, right, say, I might lose this one, I might mess up on this one. If you're averse to risk, you're probably not going to want to be an entrepreneur because you have to have the stomach for taking some risks. Grit, sustained perseverance. Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit, and that's what it talks about. Grit is one of those traits that it's sustained perseverance. You just continue to go. Do you have grit, or do you give up easy? Do you give up often? Are you optimistic? That's another successful trait. Optimism versus pessimism. Do you see the glass half empty or glass full? Can you see that there's a brighter future up ahead or no? Optimism. The other one, creativity. Creativity. Are you creative? Are you creative? I read this quote somewhere. I have all these quotes that pop in my brain, but there was a quote that said something like, the dependent mind fails to learn how to be creative, or loses the ability to be creative. If your mind becomes dependent, you lose the ability to be creative. So successful entrepreneurs, because they're creative, that's why their mind is not dependent. That's why they aren't dependent on people or things or businesses or checks or whatever, right? You can't be dependent on it because it opens up your creativity. So being creative is huge. Confidence. Having a high belief in oneself is one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur. If you don't have high belief in yourself, that you can do it, that you can make things happen, you got to start working on that. Because with the amount of rejection, the amount of no's, the amount of adversity, the amount of things that go wrong, being an entrepreneur and running a business, if you don't already believe in yourself, there's nobody else that's going to believe in you. Every once in a while, you come across a mentor, you come across a coach, somebody that can help pour some belief in you. But at the end of the day, if you don't have high self-belief, if you don't believe that you're capable of doing things, of being better, of being great, if you don't believe it, it won't happen. Successful entrepreneurs are confident in their abilities. Last two, say courageous. We just talked about it, right? Happiness, you got to have courage. One of the sayings I often say, people have heard this before, it takes money to make money. It doesn't take money to make money. That's a myth. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes courage to make money. It takes courage to make money. Why do immigrants come to this country with no money yet build something successful? Because they have courage. They have courage. Courage is what you need. Most of us trade in our courage for a paycheck. I know it's tough, but like I said, don't take offense, guys. It's the way it is. So anyway, you got to be courageous. You got to be courageous. Second, and then the last thing on there, curious. Are you curious? Are you a lifelong learner? Are you always learning? Are you always curious? Do you always have that childlike curiosity? Or do you think you're a know-it-all? Do you think you have to be an expert in every field? Are you okay to say, I don't know that? Please, right? Educate me, elaborate. Are you seeking information? Are you a lifelong learner? These are some traits of the most successful entrepreneurs. I've studied them. Success leaves clues, guys. Success leaves clues. If you ever want to be successful in an area, study successful people or successful businesses. It'll leave clues for you. These are some of the traits that I've seen in other successful entrepreneurs. If you want to follow it, you can. You just got to adapt some of these things. So question becomes, are you cut out to be an entrepreneur? How do you know if you're cut out to be an entrepreneur? How do you know you have what it takes? I asked this question with last week when we talked about money and the money mindset. Are you willing to change how you think? Are you willing to change how you think? Same thing with entrepreneurship. Again, think about what I started this talk off with. We've never been taught this. School has conditioned us to go get a job. That is what school does. That's literally what it does. Like that's how the machine was built, to go get a job. So when you want to step out of that, you have to unlearn and relearn some things. Carol Dweck wrote this book called Mindset. Great book, highly recommend it. Mindset dives into obviously what it says there, your mindset. But what it breaks down is Carol Dweck, she's a researcher. She basically did a study on the difference between fixed mindset and a growth mindset in children, right? She talks about it in the book. She did the study with children where basically she was trying to figure out if they already had a fixed mindset or a growth mindset and kind of what that looked like. Some of the differences though, as you kind of go down the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset just basically means that everything's static. Like we're born with what we got. You're just, right? These are people that say, that's just who I am. That's just how I am. That's just how I've been. Those people that say that typically have a fixed mindset because they're saying like, there's nothing that's going to change this thing about me or these things. That's just who I am. But the growth mindset says things can be developed. Your intelligence can be developed. The human potential is limitless. So you can change and develop and become whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. That's a growth mindset. Some of the differences, fixed mindset avoids challenges, but growth mindset embraces challenges. The fixed mindset is always trying to just find itself being smart. So they avoid the things that are hard, that are tough, the challenging things. But yet the growth mindset embraces the challenge. I remember in the book where she said this, that this was one of the things that she found out in children, is that some that already kind of were parented with the fixed mindset, when they had a hard problem or a hard challenge, they got frustrated and like pushed it aside. They got frustrated, pushed it aside, didn't want to do it. The other group of children that she used in there got a similar problem. It was equally as hard, but instead of them getting frustrated and push it away, they just hunkered down and they got into it and they stayed there longer and they focused more. So do you embrace challenges or do you avoid challenges? Do you give up easily due to obstacles or do you persist? This is the difference between your mindset. When you are going from the employee to the entrepreneur, when you are shifting, it's the equivalent of going from playing baseball to golf. Both have a stick or a bat and a ball, right? There's some nuances that are similar, but most of it's completely different. Most of it's completely different. And that's how you have to think about being an entrepreneur. This is completely different than anything that you would have known, that unless someone taught you how to be an entrepreneur. Like I said, you had a family member that ran a business, you sat under somebody that was in a startup, you understood something about what it takes to get a business started. Trust me, we're all starting at the same place. We don't have the blueprint or the knowledge of exactly what to do. We have to go seek that out. So are you willing to change how you think about it? Because it all starts with your mindset. The number one mindset you have to adopt to be successful, though, is the difference between the employee mindset and the entrepreneur mindset. It's the number one thing you've got to adapt. And again, not saying this to demean anyone that has a job, but please understand that there's a certain mindset that an employee has and a certain mindset that successful entrepreneurs have. They're different. It's two different ways of thinking, two completely different things, okay? So some of the differences, we kind of bullet point these and go through. Employee mindset thinks hourly salary. Entrepreneur mindset thinks profits and revenue. Commissions, if that be the case, right? But profits and revenue. Hourly versus salary, profits versus revenue. Completely different. Who are the people you're around? Are they talking hourly and salary? Are they talking profits and revenue? That's how you know the difference. Employee mindset says benefits. They're looking for benefits. Entrepreneur mindset's looking for ownership. We've all been taught, most of us, go get a job with good benefits, right? Some of you women, like, you find a guy that has a nice job. Oh, he's got a good job with good benefits, right? It's employee mindset. We're thinking about benefits, like what comes with this. If I got to do my time here, what comes with this? Oh, I get a 401k. Oh, I get some stock. Okay. Oh, okay. I get paid vacation. All right. I get some health insurance. All right. I'll do my time here then. That's cool. But on the other side, the entrepreneur thinks ownership. I just want to own. I just want to own this thing. I don't need benefits. I want to own it. Wealth comes from owning. I don't need a handout. I don't need a benefit. I need ownership. I need to own my stuff. Employee mindset, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. When I was working at the Cheesecake Factory, I didn't even get Saturday, Sunday. So my days off were different because, restaurants, you work tons of weekends. So my days off were like Tuesday and Thursday or something, or Monday and Thursday. But at the end of the day, my 2 days off were my 2 days off. You got none of me, zero, nothing. Got Sports Center. I got some drinking to catch up on, right? All the stuff, the errands maybe, right? All the stuff that happens for the people that do 5 days on, 2 days off for the rest of their life. It's not the life for me. It's not the life for the entrepreneur. We're 24/7. Why build a life where you hate 5 days out of the week and only look forward to 2? Think about that. Most people that go off to their job, they're not fulfilled with it. They're really just doing it for the paycheck. They're really just doing it because it pays the bills. So they really don't like, that's why they don't like Mondays and Wednesday is hump day and thank God it's Friday. You have all these sayings that come from an employee mindset and an employee society. It's not 9 to 5. It's not Monday through Friday. We get 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You should live your life fulfilling all those times, not just 9 to 5. But anyway, employee mindset says instant gratification. Entrepreneur mindset says delayed gratification. It's something that happens, that runs rampant. You just got to make sure that you are pushing things off for the future instead of just taking everything right now. Employee mindset learns everything and then takes action. Entrepreneur says, I'm going to learn it as I take action. Big, big difference here, guys. Because again, no fault of yours, no fault of ours. This is what school does to you. We don't understand the effects of our education system and what it was built for. But these are the residual effects of it. The fact that you feel like you have to learn everything in order to take action is the exact opposite of what every successful entrepreneur does. If you feel like you have to, and again, this is what school does. They say, study all of this, take this test, and then you'll know the info. Or even in a more macro picture, go through all these years, get this degree so that you can get the job. Do all of this up front so you can go. But that's not the way it works as an entrepreneur. You got to go. It's an action thing. You got to go. And you're going to learn as you go. This is how I love for people to think about it. You can't teach someone how to ride a bike by PowerPoints and manuals. That's not how any of us learned how to ride a bike. None of us said, all right, none of our parents sat down with us, read the bike manual, pointed out the pedals, told us this entrepreneur, took a test on it. Well, what happens when you move forward? How do you stop? That's not how it worked. What do? Our parents put us on a bike with some training wheels. They held our butt. They held the seat. It kept going. Then we fell off. We scraped our knee. We cried. What do? We got back up and got back on the bike until eventually we learned how to ride it. That is entrepreneurship. That is life. What they taught us in school was you can learn it and then go do it. What the entrepreneur knows is the only way you're going to learn is by doing it. It's the only way you're going to learn. Otherwise, you won't even know what you don't know. So that's a big one. That's a big one. We got to adapt. Waiting on help is the employee mind. The entrepreneur mind lives by the motto, if it is to be, it's up to me. That's the motto. If it is to be, it's up to me. Okay? So that means it's all in your control. The other one, the employee mind seeks comfort. The entrepreneur mind seeks to be uncomfortable. I just talked about this again last week when it comes to money. There's some common themes in here. Are you seeking to be comfortable or are you seeking to be uncomfortable? Because if you want to grow, you need to seek to be uncomfortable. If you seek comfort, you are seeking to stay in your comfort zone, which is exactly where you sit, and nothing good grows in our comfort zone. The employee mindset has a lottery mentality. What does that mean? It means like you really think like you could hit the lottery. Like you don't have to do much, but if one day this whole windfall of money comes on me, if one day this whole thing happens, my life is good. But the entrepreneur mindset talks about action. We know that the only way that we're going to make something happen is if we go take action and go do that thing. There's no lottery. There's no way that something's just going to happen to us or fall in our lap. People don't become successful accidentally. It's not like, oh, well, I was just walking down the street one day and somebody just handed me a bunch of money and I knew what to do and I invested it and I became wealthy. Like, it's not what happens. We take action. We take action. That's the entrepreneur mindset. Big one, employee mindset blames. The entrepreneur mindset takes responsibility. It's very easy for us to blame. It's not my fault. It's my boss's fault. He's an idiot. It's not my fault. I was late. The teacher didn't give me the right assignment. It's not my fault. It's not my fault, right? That's what happens as an employee. We point the finger. If you get fired, it wasn't your fault. It was because so-and-so, right, messed you up because of whatever, right? That becomes the mindset. That becomes the lingo. Yet entrepreneurs, we just take responsibility for it. I've heard super extreme cases, right? People get in a car accident. Let's say you get hit from the side or hit from behind. It really is not your fault. You're just sitting at a light or something. Some entrepreneurs will be like, or with the mindset of an entrepreneur, it's like, it's my fault. I shouldn't have been on this street. I should have left earlier. I shouldn't have driven this way. Just take responsibility for your life. It sets you free. If you never have to ever blame, if you never have to blame another soul, it takes control, right? Like your life is amazing. Your life is amazing. A couple others, employee mindset needs to be told what to do. The entrepreneur mindset is a self-starter, self-explanatory, but true. Again, harsh, not trying to hurt people's feelings. Just understand that that's the case. Most people need to be told what to do because we're used to that training. But you got to learn how to be a self-starter. You got to learn how to self-motivate. You got to learn how to get things done when you don't feel like getting things done. It's a big, big mindset shift when you get to that entrepreneur mindset. And then lastly, the employee craves security, but the entrepreneur, like we said, craves freedom. I crave freedom over security. And technically, freedom is being secure. Having a paycheck, having a job is actually the opposite of security. The opposite of security. Why? Because you don't own your income. That means someone could take it away from you tomorrow. I know you think your job is safe and secure. I get it, right? Like they like you. All those things are great. But we've seen this in the pandemic, guys. When push comes to shove, you're a number. It's about the bottom line. This is how companies think. It's about the bottom line. It's about profits. It's about revenue. That's what it's about. You will get let go of very quickly if it's about the bottom line. So we got to change the way that we think. The number one mindset you have to adopt to be successful as a business owner is the entrepreneur mindset. You got to start thinking more like an entrepreneur. Here's some resources to be able to do it for you. I'm good at giving you resources because I've read tons and tons of books. I'm just giving you what I've done. I'm not just making stuff up. I'm just giving you what I've done. These are things that help. Soar from T.D. Jakes. Great book. Talks 100% about entrepreneurship, has a spiritual side to it. He brings in scripture, but obviously understanding what needs to happen in order for you to build your vision is going to be incredibly important. So that book, Soar, is amazing. Here's another book I give to everyone that has started a business already. If you haven't started a business, you can still read it. You might not understand it as much as the person that is in the business currently, but you can still read it. It's called The E-Myth. The E-Myth stands for the entrepreneurial myth. It's by Michael Gerber. Great book. Here's one of the biggest takeaways from the book. One of the biggest takeaways from the book is you need to learn how to work on your business and not in your business. Say that one more time. As an entrepreneur, you need to learn how to work on your business, but not in your business. It's huge. He talks about it in the book. I highly recommend that book for anyone that's already in business. Lastly, last week I talked to you about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is the first book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, giving you that mindset of money, accounting, right? Rule number one, the rich don't work for money. All that good stuff is in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, his second book that he wrote on the back of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is called Cash Flow Quadrant. The Cash Flow Quadrant. Some of you may know what that is. If not, I'm going to explain it to you because it's an important concept for you to understand as an entrepreneur. If not the most important concept for you to understand. It's right here. It says that there's 4 ways that we make money in our society. 4 ways, only 4. One is being the employee, self-employed, business owner, or investor. Those are the only 4 ways that we make money. Everyone knows the employee side, right? You're trading time for money. You have a job. You're on that hamster wheel, trading time for money. Job, J-O-B, just over broke, right? All of these things, that's the employee. I often say, reframe it, reshift how you think about it. Do you say, I get paid $20 an hour? Are you excited about getting paid $20 an hour? Or would you say, I gave up an hour of my life for $20. I gave up an hour of my life. Here, take an hour of my life for $20. That's what it's worth. That's what I'm worth to you. It's $20 for an hour of my life. An hour of time with my kids, an hour of time of my peace is worth $20. That's the employee side. It's all how we think about it. Not a bad thing to have a job. Just know It's not going to get you to where you want to be. Trading time for money. What happens is we jump to the S quadrant, which is self-employed or small business. It basically means you bought yourself a job. Restaurant owners, small restaurant owners, salon owners, barbers. It could even be lawyers that own their own practice, doctors that own their own practice, CPAs that own their own practice. They're self-employed. That means you bought yourself a job. If you don't go do it, it doesn't happen. If you don't go out and make the sale, if you don't open the door, if you don't make the call, if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. You can't walk away from the business. Like, it's there. It's you. So what happens in self-employed mode? You can make a lot of money, but you will never have time. You will never be free. Because if it's always dependent on you, we all got the same 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you're going to be able to do. So that ES side, that active income, that ES side right there, 95% of people. What most people that are self-employed are trying to do is become a business owner. And this is where Robert Kiyosaki talks about there's a difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. The technical definition as he defines it of being a business owner is you own a system that runs your business. Meaning you could start the business, but then walk away from it and come back to it, and it can be doing better than how you left it. Because there was a system in place. It wasn't driven by you. For us, the easiest way to wrap our brains around this concept are franchises. For any of you that have looked at a franchise or gone into a franchise or understand what McDonald's does, the reason why you can basically go anywhere in the world and eat a chicken McNugget and it tastes exactly the same is because they have a system that runs the business. Think of McDonald's as a business. It is a multi-billion-dollar business that is typically run by young people and old people that are underqualified. Think about that model. It's a billion-dollar business. So many people are like, oh, I need to find the right people. Like, no one's as good as me. McDonald's is a billion-dollar business that hires in their stores typically the youngest unqualified people and the oldest unqualified people. That's typically what they do. Billion-dollar business. Because they have a system that runs it. So if you have a system in your business, you can be a business owner. The other side of this quadrant is the I quadrant, which is the investor, which is when your money makes you money. You have money, you let your money go to work for you. Not just in the stock market, that's one place to invest, but there's other asset classes to invest. Some people invest in real estate. Some people invest in businesses, startup companies. You had $30,000. If you had dropped that $30,000 into Facebook, 15 years ago or whatever, right, you'd be at a few $1 million on that $30,000 investment. So that's when your money makes money for you. Now understand, 95% of people live on the ES side. They start at a job, because most of us start at a job. Then we wake up and we're like, man, I could do this myself. Then they jump down to self-employed. Then they realize how much actual work it is. And they normally go back up to having a job at some point. So normally the way it goes, 95% of people. So why do only 5% of people get over to the BI side, where you can actually own a business that runs the business and be an investor? It's because that takes specialized knowledge. That's why. It takes nothing to be an employee. You just got to have a good resume, and you have to know how to communicate, right? To get yourself a job. And anyone, like I said, it's never been easier to start a business. We have the internet. You can set up an LLC. You can do everything on your phone or on the computer. You can start a business. It's easy to be self-employed. But that transition to say, I want to learn how to work on my business and not in my business for the rest of my life, is a specialized knowledge. When you learn how to make proper investments to get the best ROI, return on your investment, it takes a specialized knowledge. So back to the question, right? Who's teaching you to be an entrepreneur? This is something that you got to know, because I'm sure most of you want to be on the BI side. Here's how it works, and I'm wrapping up. Here's how it works. Purpose versus passion. You've heard probably so many people, and people come up to me all the time. I don't know what my passion is. I don't know, how to find my purpose. I'm not walking in purpose. I can't find my passion. Well, this is something that I stumbled across. I didn't even know that it had an actual term, but I saw this a while back and I've been sharing it with people, but it's called Ikigai, right? It's like some Japanese like thing, but it's actually helps you understand how to get to purpose and really what it is. First thing is we have to use the right words. Most of us don't necessarily use the right words when we're talking passion or purpose or any of those things. But you can't just follow passions, and here's why. Because some people out there, and this is one of the myths, one of the misconceptions, is that I could just find my passion and follow that. It's not true, okay? It's a myth. It'd be great, and there's a certain group of people that can, but most people can't. Most people can't just make a living off of their passions. But what is your passion? Here's how it breaks it down. These 4 big concentric circles, right? Let's take the 4 big circles. First big circle is, what do you love doing? Next big circle is, what does the world need? Then it's what pays well, and then it's what you're good at. So that's 4 circles right there. Well, what do you love doing? And this is self-reflective, right? You start to ask yourself these questions if you want to understand how to get to that BI side, if you understand how to start a business. You got to start thinking about these things. Well, what do I love doing? Can you write a list of the things that you love doing? What does the world need? What's happening in the market? What would add value to people? Write those down. What pays well? What are the best industries? What will pay my living? What will create a lifestyle that I want? Write those down. And then what you're good at. Write those things down. Once you have those, now here's how they come together. The intersection of what you're good at and what you love doing is your passion. The intersection of what you're good at and what you love doing is your passion. My passion's basketball. I played college basketball. I'm only 6 feet tall. I wasn't going to make it to the league. It was not something that I was going to make my lifestyle, but it's my passion. I will go back to coach. I will coach basketball at some point in my second career, my later career, whatever it is, because it's my passion. I enjoy it. Like, I really love doing it. It's in my flow state when I'm on the court, and I'm good at it. It's my passion. Most people don't know that their passion will be the love child of what they're good at and what they love doing. On the other side, what you love doing and what the world needs becomes a mission. Do you have a mission? Do you have something that drives you because it's what you love doing and it's what the world needs? Might not be what you're good at, but it's what the world needs. That becomes your mission. The intersection between what pays well and what the world needs, that's your vocation. And then the intersection between what pays well and what you're good at is your profession. Your profession is just what pays you well and what you're good at. But that doesn't have to be your passion. That might not be what the world needs. The intersection of all those things, the intersection of passion, profession, vocation, and your mission is how you find purpose. It's right there. It's how you it's how you get to purpose. So how do you start? You got to pull the circles apart. You got to pull the circles apart in order to see where you sit and what you love doing and what you're good at, what the world needs and what pays well. So here's some practical things. And this is how I'm wrapping up for both groups. If you're looking to start a business, you haven't started a business yet, you're looking to start a business, here's what you need to know. Do not go back to school. Let me say that again. Do not go back to school. School, guys, school is our comfort zone. School teaches us how to go get jobs. That's what happens. If you go back to school, you will not learn the skills that you need to know to actually be a successful entrepreneur. Now, are there maybe a certification you need, or if you really just want to be a lawyer or a doctor, of course you're going to have to do some of those things, but you're probably not thinking about starting the business if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or some type of thing that needs some type of certification. Going back to school is not your first option. It's not your first option. Get paid to learn, don't pay to learn. Robert Kiyosaki says there's only one reason we should have a job. It's to learn skills. It's not to make money. It's not to get a paycheck. It's not to pay our bills. The one reason you should have a job is to learn skills. Better to get paid to learn those things than go pay a college to learn something. That's real entrepreneurship. The best entrepreneurs sit under and apprentice under other entrepreneurs. The guy teaching you, the lady teaching you out of that book, if they were a successful entrepreneur, they wouldn't be teaching you out of that book. Therefore, you could learn all the stuff in that book. Why are you paying them to teach you that? Information is free. You can just go to Google and go to YouTube and find people that are in the industry doing it, and you can do it yourself. Please, please, I see this as a mistake all the time for people that say they want to be an entrepreneur, but their first thought is comfort, which is, I'm going to go back to school because I feel like that's where I'll learn what I need to know. It's incorrect. Here's a couple other things you need to know if you're looking to start a business. Figure out your circles on the Ikigai that I just showed you. Figure out your circles. What are you good at? Can you write a list of the 15 things you're good at? Can you write a list of the 10 things the world needs? Can you write lists of those things so you can see them on paper? And then can you start to put your circles together to see where maybe you want to play in the business world? Figure out your circles. Here's another one. Research and gather data on an industry. Before you jump into an industry, you might want to just gather a little data, watch a few YouTube videos, call your friend that's in the industry, connect with that person on LinkedIn that is in the industry that's where you are or where you want to be, right? At the end of the day, you got to understand that there's information out there and there's people that have done what you do or want to do and are in that career, in that field. You need to talk to them. Here's another one. Learn how to sell something and or get comfortable selling. Learn how to sell. Most of you probably know the show Shark Tank. The show Shark Tank, Barbara Corcoran, who's on that show, she's one of the judges on the show. She's a real estate person, but she invests in a bunch of businesses. I listened to a podcast with her. One of the things that she said, the number one thing I look for in an entrepreneur that I'm going to invest in, the number one thing Barbara Corcoran looks for is their ability to sell. At some point in our life, somebody told us sales is a bad thing. Sales is sneaky. I don't like sales. I'm not good at sales. All these things we tell ourselves because somebody said that. Yet we're selling every day of our life. Many of you listening to this entrepreneur talk might be thinking about going to get a job, right? You might be in the process of going to get a job. Well, guess what you're doing? You're selling yourself. You're selling yourself to that interviewer, to that boss, to that person, saying, here's my resume. I'm the man, I'm the woman for the job. I can do this. I'm gonna show up on time. I have valid transportation. I'm gonna be good. You can grow with me. You're selling yourself to that person that they should pick you. We're always selling. For those of you that are parents, you're selling your children on why they need to eat their vegetables. You're selling them. You're selling is influence. It's convincing. It's influence. So you got to learn how to sell something. You got to learn how to get comfortable selling something. And here's the other side. You got to network. You got to network. You got to shake hands. If you are looking to start a business, your business needs employees, customers, clients. It needs people to run the business. Who you finding? You got to start shaking hands. There's a good saying, your network is your net worth. Your network equals your net worth. That's how it works. It's your net worth. That means you got to start shaking hands. You got to get around knowing people right now if you're looking to start a business. These are some things that you can focus on. Figure out your circles. Go research the industry. Talk to some people in the industry. Go sell something. Go get some stuff from Costco and sell it. Go sell a plate. Go sell something. And then go network. Go talk to people. Go shake hands. Go find out what other people are doing. Go collaborate. Go sit under somebody. Go talk to people. It's going to be huge. Here's the other side. If you already run a business, here's something to know. There's a saying that's out there. If you build it, they will come. That's wrong. Another myth, another misconception. If you build it, they will not come because there's plenty of other places for them to go. So you have to do more than just build it for people to come. Okay. So business is simple. There's only two focuses. And this is for people that are already running a business. It's simple. Sales, marketing. That's a business. Sales, marketing. We can get complex and do all types of, things and business plans and all this. Sales and marketing. What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? How do they know about you? What are you getting to them? So here's the sales questions to ask yourself if you're running a business. Is your product good? Most people say, yeah, my product's great. Does the market know? Do you have proof of concept? Did 1,000 people tell you that it was great? Or that's just you and your homegirl that told you should start a business. Y'all two thought that it was great, but you never sold it to anybody to know if it's good. Sales. Do you understand how to sell it? all different products, all different services. How do you sell it? You sell it e-commerce? Do you set up a store? Do you call people? Do you email? Like how do you sell the thing? How do you ship it? All those things. Where do you sell it? Are you in-house? Are you in-commerce, right? Like where you sell it? Is it at the right price point? Are you selling things that are the right price? Or are you under quoting or right selling yourself short? Or is it too high? No one wants to buy it. Do you know your sales process? This is a big one. I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. They don't understand their sales process. What does it take to get a prospect all the way through to buy your thing? From the moment you contact them or they contact you all the way through to the moment that they've given you money in exchange for that thing. Do you understand that process? Do you understand A, B, C, all the way to Z? You're the only one that can understand it. It's your business. I see so many entrepreneurs that don't know their sales process. They don't know how to get from A to Z to get money from people. Here's another one I see happen all the time. Do you know how to handle objections? Meaning when someone has a question, when someone says, hey, I don't know about that. I was thinking XYZ. Do you know what to say to them in order to still get their commitment, in order to still get a sale, in order to still get your product to them? Just because people ask questions doesn't mean they're not interested. It's the opposite. When they ask questions, it's because you've intrigued them. If you don't know how to answer those questions, they will still go to somewhere else to buy. So do you know how to handle your own objections? Lastly, is your payment process clear, concise, streamlined? How do you take payment? How do you get money from people? This is your sales process. If you're running a business and you can't answer these questions, you got some work to do. You got some work to do in your business to say, okay, well, how am I selling? Here's the other side, marketing. Do you know whom you're talking to and how you should be talking to them? What does your audience look like? What do they like to hear? What do they like to see? Is there certain music? Is there a certain genre? Who's your avatar, right? Who is your market? What do they look like? Do you know the demographic and the psychographic? Is it women, but is it Black women from the ages of 40 to 52 that live in rural parts of the country that use this type of product? Is that your avatar? Because if you can find all of them, you can just sell to them if you know that that's your market. But have you narrowed that down? Have you gotten into a niche? Niches bring riches, meaning you got to know where you're going, what your niche is. But that's all business is, guys, sales and marketing. Sales and marketing, that is it. If you're not good in those areas, you have to get good in those two areas to run a successful business. Business is a simple concept, but execution is the key. Execution is the key, guys. And this is where we're going to end it up. Here's what you need to know. Running a business, what you need to do, get a mastermind group, get a coach, an accountability group. Don't go at entrepreneurship alone. It is not meant for us to go at it alone. Know your numbers. Here's the second part. I've met so many business owners that don't know their numbers. If you are creating a product, how much does it cost you to make? Then how much do you sell it for? Then what's your profit margin? Do you know those answers to your business, or are you just running a hobby? Every business has a P&L, a profit and loss statement. Do you? Do you know how much you bought your stuff for? And do you know how much you sell it for? Do you know how much you make off of each one? You've got to know your numbers if you actually are running a business. It's the execution. Here's another one. Build your team. Not just your internal team, your external team. The business owner, the entrepreneur needs a team. You need a financial person. You need a CPA. You need an attorney, right? If you're in real, you need a real estate broker. If you're getting buildings, or right, you need brick and mortar space. You got to build your team around you. You're not supposed to know everything. That's the self-employed mindset. You shouldn't, after a certain point in time in your business, you shouldn't be doing your own taxes. Like, it's great that you know how to do them and you should have an understanding of how to do your taxes, but that's not your job. There's people that are professionals, CPAs, like they're professional people that do that for you. Pay them so they do their job well, so you can do your job well. I put this saying down there: know what you know what you don't know who knows what you don't know. It's important. You got to know what you know, but you got to also know what you don't know. But the question is, do you know who knows that information? If so, go find them. They'll give it to you. Here's a big one that people miss out on. Invest back in your business. For those of you that are just starting a business, had a business less than 3 years, your business is a baby. It's a baby. If you don't nurture that baby, if you don't constantly feed that baby, it's not going to grow. I see so many entrepreneurs do something in their business, get some great sales, use all that money for their personal life. They take all their money from their business, from the sales of their business, and they go pay their rent and pay their car and buy something new, and then they go get more sales. If you don't reinvest that money back in your business, you should be taking little to no money off of the table as a startup, somebody that's just getting started in entrepreneurship. You really can't afford to take money off the table. You got to put that money right back into the business if you want your business to grow. If you want to get it to a place where it can actually pay your lifestyle, you got to invest back in the business. And lastly, you got to know when to pivot. We've seen this in COVID. You got to know when to pivot. You got to know when enough's enough. You got to know when you're not going to move forward in this lane. You got to know when the demand isn't there, your product offering isn't right, the marketing isn't good. You got to know when things aren't good, and you got to pivot. You got to turn. Doesn't mean you quit. You turn, you shift. You say, I thought it this way, but then when I got that experience, again, I learned by doing. When I got the experience, I realized really the business is this model. So I got to pivot. I got to shift and do this. You wouldn't know that if you were just writing business plans every day. If you're just looking at it conceptually on paper, you wouldn't know the roadblocks and the obstacles. But as you do, you got to learn to pivot. And this is the last place I will leave you. I ran a little over, but it's all good. Sales cures everything. Sales cures everything. If you're ever in doubt and you're running a business, go sell something. Go sell your product. Go sell your service. Go put it in the hands of a couple people. Shark Tank likes to call it proof of concept. Do you have proof of concept? Has someone proven that this is going to work, that they like it, that there's a demand for it? Sales cures everything. Normally, as the entrepreneur and the ones that I come across, normally you're stagnant in business because you haven't sold anything lately, because you haven't put yourself out there to go sell it. Sales cures everything, guys. So if anything that I just told you today, and you're running a business and you forgot all of it, that's fine. Go sell something. Go sell something. It's going to change it because now you have proof of concept. Now you actually have money coming in. Now you have things that are starting to happen in your business. Go sell something. This is us. Me and my wife. Feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. I know we're about to do a Q&A right now, so I can take some of your questions, but feel free to reach out. Again, I'm more of a financial coach, financial professional. I just understand entrepreneurship because we've built a business and we've been building one for 7-8 years. My wife's been building one for like 12 years. So at the end of the day, we can pass down a little bit of knowledge to you, but feel free to reach out. Okay. So there's my share.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
I have a couple of questions. The first question, I know that was Therese. She was in the Zoom, but she's in the group now. She says, so where does your framework for entrepreneurship fall in with that rubric? And that was the what is it?
Ikigai.
Okay. So where does your framework for entrepreneurship fall in with that rubric? So if that's not clear, is it a clear question?
Not necessarily. I was gonna ask, like, is it a matter of like,
so I'm going to ask Therese, drop some more information in the chat about that question, some clarifying information about that question, Therese, and we'll go to the next question, which is, when did you realize you wanted to advise people regarding finances?
I have a little bit different of a story. It's a great question. I actually didn't know that I wanted to advise people in finance, and I don't think I would have chosen that. What I looked at was the business model, because me and my wife are business people, right? So at the end of the day, right, this is one of those misconceptions. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in what you do at the beginning. You just have to understand how the business works. How must the business work? That's why someone can get into trucking, someone can get into home health, all types of things that maybe you have no expertise in, but if you understand how the business works, you make things happen. And so we got a chance to see the business model for what it was, and we knew that it would get us to where we wanted to be. Then we got good at our business. We got good at our craft, right? We learned more about money. It was kind of the backwards part of it. It's like The business works. Now let's get good at the business versus let me think about what I want to do. Let me get good at it and then turn that into the business. That's normally how people think. And that's how I kind of advise people to start because I have a different story, right?
Mhm.
If, like I was already more business minded, kind of thinking about business. So I was looking at things differently than specifically if I'm like, man, I want to do something, but I don't know what I want to do. That's where most people are. And I
Yeah.
don't know, the person that asked the question might be coming from that place because you might not know what you want to do.
I think most of us are there, and that a lot of us, not most, but a lot of people are there and they're not sure what to do. Do you feel satisfied with your current state of life? I ask because your wisdom is amazing. Uh, uh,
I appreciate that. And the answer is yes, because progress equals happiness. That's why. We're never going to be where we want to be. There's always going to be a level of there's more for you. That's what keeps you going, right? That's why I kind of dislike the retirement mindset of like, oh, I get to the finish line and it's done. Like, that's not life, right? We got to
yeah.
keep going. We got to keep pushing. So, I'm excited about my life. To answer that question specifically, I'm excited about my life. I'm excited about where I'm at. Of course, I have challenges. Of course, I have problems. Of course, there are things that pop up in my family. Right, been married 9 years. I have a child. Like, of course, there are things that pop up. Right, but at the end of the day, I'm mentally tough. I continue to process things with that framework of faith, family, business, and I continue to work on myself. Right, and when you continue to personally grow and develop, growth, again, progress equals happiness. So that's what allows us to get there.
Do you think there is an upsurge in specific industries since COVID-19 has started? And I'm assuming that that question is related to like potential business opportunities. Mhm.
Yeah. I'm sure there are. I wouldn't know right off the top of my head specifically which ones are like taking off. I can tell you the ones that aren't doing well because that's what I look at. I look at opportunity of the ones that aren't so like restaurants, right? Restaurants, there's something saying that like potentially 90% of the mom and pop smaller restaurants that we know will be out of business after this COVID time, right? It's just a real issue. The travel industry really jacked up right now. Any travel agents, people like that, right? There's a few different areas where COVID really affected them. On the other side, I think we just have to look for opportunity around what would be the next thing. It's that visionary part. It's that looking around the corner and really trying to figure out, okay, what are people going to need in a 2021 world, post-COVID, post, right, lockdown? What are people going to need then? Right? I wrote an article on Medium about what's going to shift in the restaurant world. And I said one of the things that's going to get really big in restaurants is delivery. Even though we have DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats now, it's going to take a completely different face where restaurants, like the chef is going to be able to deliver it. Like they're going to have it come directly from them because the model is broken, right? We're seeing education change. There's going to be a huge there's going to be a huge shift in professors and where they teach and online courses that they get paid for and all types of different areas. So all I would say is when that ikigai, what the world needs, that's where you have to start paying attention. Just what is the world going to need, right? What's going to happen post this time? That'll give you some ideas about businesses.
So I have some clarifying information on the first question. I'm going to go to that. So you used the term success a few times and brought up Kiyosaki's cash flow rubric. And I was wondering where your opinions on entrepreneurial success fall within that rubric. Okay, so it was the wrong rubric. So it was the business owner versus the, yeah.
The ESBI, the cash flow quadrant.
Let me to
So read this. So yeah, just give me the question again. So
you used the term success a few times and brought up Kiyosaki's cash flow rubric. And I was wondering where your opinions on entrepreneurial success fall within that rubric.
Got it. I understand. So at the end of the day, most entrepreneurs don't succeed because we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the information, we don't understand exactly what we need to do to get to that BI side. That most people in the small and medium businesses are sitting in this self-employed side, The issue, and the reason why I said that book, The E-Myth, because the E-Myth is going to teach people how to put a system in place to help you get to the BI side. So the reason people struggle, in my opinion, hopefully this is answering the question, in that self-employed to business owner side, it's that jump that we don't know how to get there. That's what we think we want, but we don't know how to get there. And so I've seen a ton of entrepreneurs, right, fail in doing that and trying to create the system where they can walk away from the business. So it takes specialized knowledge. It takes specialized knowledge. It takes learning. It takes training, sitting with other entrepreneurs. One of the worst things you can do as an entrepreneur is listen to a successful employee. It's just one of the, right? It's not going to work out the way you want to. So that's what, and again, that's what most people know. So that's what leads to some of that failure. So it's really about understanding how to get over to that BI side from self-employed is where I think the big hurdle is and where people need the most help.
Mm-hmm. All right, Teresa, you can drop any additional information if you have about that question. While I go to the next one. Thank you, Chris. How do I stay motivated after starting a small business? Sammy, are you still there? Let me see if he's still in the group.
How do you stay motivated?
Stay motivated.
It's a good question. Most people struggle with motivation when they're getting started in a business. Biggest thing, come back to the mindset. You have to understand why you got started. You have to understand what it's getting you. A lot of times we're not motivated because we lose sight of what we're actually going towards, right? We lose sight of the vision. We lose sight of what's up ahead. It's tough to stay motivated in the day-to-day, right? So one of the things I would say is keep your vision clear. Keep your goals close to you. I just talked to my team about this. Like we're planning for 2021, right? We're planning for 2021 right now. And I'm telling them, once you write down your goals, you need to read them every day, 3 times a day. As soon as you wake up, in the afternoon, and before you go to sleep. If you're constantly putting on your brain the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, then you'll have more motivation and be inspired more to do it every day, right? If you don't know where you're headed, if you lose that vision, you'll cast off restraint, right? You won't know where you should be going. So it's really about getting clear on the vision of why you even started the business, and then reminding yourself that every single day and making sure that those vision, that goals, that they're pulling you towards where you want to be. It's one of the best ways to stay motivated. The other side of it is personally develop. You have to feed yourself better things. Let's just be honest. Most of the things that are out there, books or the news, social media, things like that, they're escapism. They're adding garbage to your mind, taking you away from where you should be. One of the things that I took to strongly in the early stages of me being an entrepreneur was my personal development. So I would only put good things in. I stopped listening to the radio. I stopped listening to music. I stopped watching ESPN. I stopped doing all of the things that normal people do to get away, to escape, right? To calm down, to relax, whatever those things are. And I did everything to just grow. Everything was personal development, audios, books, YouTubes, studying successful people, learning about money, because that's the industry I'm in. It would be learning about your business, your industry, reading the successful people there, and just inundate yourself with that stuff. Just inundate it. If you can't do that, you might not really love what you're doing. You might not like that industry that much, right? Like you might have picked the wrong thing if that's a struggle for you. So personally growing is also another side that's going to help you stay motivated.
And then you see this one from Felicia. What if someone is not good at sales?
Well, first off, Felicia, I'll ask you, how do you know you're not good at sales? Did someone tell you that? Is that what you heard? Is that something because you had one experience and you tried and it didn't go the way you wanted? So you're like, I'm not good at it. We have to analyze our belief system, because I might be able to look at other areas of your life and say, well, you did a great job selling, right? Your boss on that, or you did a great job of selling your kids on that, or right? Any of those type of things. So like that's kind of what I would say. First off, evaluate, do you really even believe that you're not good at sales? Secondly, if you've come to the conclusion that like, all right, really, I'm not the greatest at it. Well, guess what? Fixed mindset versus growth mindset. you can get better. You can learn. If the number one thing an entrepreneur needs to do is know how to sell, then go learn how to sell. There's tons of sales courses. There's tons of information on sales. There's tons. So then you just learn if it's important to you, and then you'll try it, and then you'll fail, and then you'll get rejected, and then you'll go back and you'll learn some more about sales, and then you try and you fail and get rejected, and you learn more about sales, and you do that for a few years, and then before you know it, you're a master at selling. Then you never have to worry about it again.
And Felicia, I would say if you reframe what you believe sales is, and you look at some of those other things like your child, right? That you would, and I say this because you and I have spoken, that you would say, yeah, I'm good at sales, right? That I'm better than I think I am at sales. If you look at, just reframe what the product is that was being sold, and you look at that differently. I don't particularly like to sell, but there was a time in my life where I thought I was called to sell life insurance. Because life insurance pretty much allowed me to be crazy after my father died, right? He left a lot of it. It allowed me to mourn. And I wanted everyone to have that same, benefit. And so I would have never in my life thought I'd be able to sell. And I did very well doing that. And I sell every day. I sell CDPD every day to people like Chris. I don't know how well I do, but I sell it every day.
I'm here, right? I'm here. You obviously did a good job. You got me for 2 weeks. So
no. So I bet if you reframe the way you think of sales, Felicia, you'll realize that you were doing better than you think at sales. All right. So this is the last question, I think, Chris. When you say your team, do you mean your employees, or do you have some sort of development group? Oh, y'all trying to leave me and go with Chris now? I need.
Look at that.
Yeah, no, I'm just playing.
So great question. I do a couple morning calls twice a week for just the people that I've networked with and been around. Danette, I'll get you a flyer for that so you can get it out.
I'll post it in the group. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But in general, I am talking about my agents, right? Like I actually, again, financial coach, I run a financial agency. I have agents that I bring on board, very much so what I just shared with you about the ESBI, right? I'm getting to the BI side because I'm able to duplicate myself because I have a system that runs the business. So even though I may be knowledgeable in finance and financial services and helping people, I can train someone else how to do it. So eventually I don't always have to do it and I can go enjoy my family, right? Like that's the goal. And that's what all of our goals should be, right? Like if you're going to be in business, you should be trying to build this so it creates the lifestyle that you want. You're not going to be a slave to your business. You're not going to be a slave to your job. You're not going to just always have to work. At some point, you have to learn how to make money without it being from you. You've got to learn that skill. You've got to leverage other people's time, other people's money. You've got to duplicate yourself. You've got to have a system. There has to be something that allows you to work on your business and not in your business for the rest of your life. There has to be something. So that's what I mean.
All right, guys, I don't have any more questions. There are comments, and Chris is in the group, so he can see the comments when he goes into the group. Am I asking about marginalization or not? Nah, all right. No problem with that. You said next week. All right, guys, we just have our quick question. What would you tell your younger self about entrepreneurism? If you go back and you tap a younger Chris on the shoulder, maybe when he was in school or when he first got out, what would you say about being an entrepreneur?
Taste more things, right? The one advice I give to everyone that's younger, and I talk to younger kids too, like you got to taste more things. Our mindset of like, I should know what I want to do when I'm 17 and I'm gonna stick in this career and I'm gonna just do this because that's what I was told I gotta do I think it's the wrong thing. I think we got to teach younger kids how to go from job to job, go from business to business, bounce around, find their skills, find what's right. It doesn't matter about your resume of like, oh, they saw that you left this job. No, like if you go there and 2 weeks later, you're like, this doesn't fit me, this isn't it, leave and go do the next thing. And then pick the next thing and the next thing. And then you'll find what you're good at. You'll find what you like. You'll start to understand yourself at an earlier age. Anyone that's super successful in the entrepreneur world, whether they're an entertainer, like anything that they have to do it on their own, they've been doing it for a long time because they figured out what they were good at some point. When we go down the path of getting a job, we often don't figure out who we are and what we're good at and what we're supposed to bring. And if I could talk to a younger person or my younger self, I would say, go taste other things. Yeah, I was working in the kitchen for the first, 10 years of my life, my working career, basically. And I didn't taste other things. I didn't try anything else. I didn't know that there was anything else out there. I was so dead set that, like, as soon as you come out, you're like, oh, there's a world out here. Oh, wow. Like, it's all new. And depending on when you wake up, I happen to wake up in my mid-20s. Some people don't wake up until their 40s of like, oh, wow, there's a world here. Like, I didn't have to be in this job I didn't have to be miserable. I could go. I would tell my younger self that, like, just taste a bunch of different stuff. Like, go try.
I love it. And this is my final question, guys. Please don't. I hope you didn't post anything else in the group. Oh, no, these are just comments. Okay. So, I like my final question to be final. If we can just walk away with one thing, what do you want the takeaway to be tonight? If you have to do two, I'll give you two. But if you can keep one, that'd be great.
I keep it to one. Big takeaway is evaluate why you want to be an entrepreneur. Evaluate why. Like, what's really the driving force? What's really the motivator? All right, because some people just want it. They think their life will be easier that way. And I will tell you, your life will not be easier, right? Like, it will get more difficult. But the most important thing is you'll get stronger. If you stay on the course, you'll get stronger. Life will stay just as hard, right? And this is where I'll leave it. I'll say, right, because I give this analogy a bunch. Being an entrepreneur and being in life as an entrepreneur, it's like you're a UFC fighter. Like, there's no undefeateds. Like, you're going to get knocked out. Like, you're going to get knocked down. Like, for sure, it's going to happen. The question is, how quickly do you get back up? How quickly, right? As the employee, sometimes we won't get back up. We're just like, that was all I could handle. Life just hit me. I'm out. And just go to work and do this thing because I can't handle life. As the entrepreneur, you never get to say that. When life knocks you out, when I have an argument with my wife, I still have to do business. I can't just be like, oh, well, that just was too much. I'm out. It doesn't happen that way. So you got to get prepared for this thing. So
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Chris. I don't know when you're coming back, but I hope you bring the missus next time. I'm gonna hold you to that. So I can't wait for you guys to do the tag team thing for us and show us what you really do together. I appreciate you. Thank you. Please send me that information so I can post it up about your morning calls. I might jump on there myself and get some inspiration, motivation. And guys, if you enjoyed this presentation and it gave you value, please share it, share the YouTube link, or just share it on your Facebook page. All right. Have a good evening. Thank you, Chris.
thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.